everyone, this is Paul from Cincoze. Before we start the introduction for GP-3000, I would like to share a quick video about the product. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at this online session. I believe you have received good contents delivered by Ray a moment ago about GPU trends and target market for GPU product line. Now I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you the new GP-3000, a revolutionary industrial GPU computer designed and developed by Cincoze. GP-3000 is designed based on Intel Coffee Lake Refresh 9th and 8th generation platform. With this key selling feature, it's able to accommodate dual GPU cards at once, supporting each GPU card's 250 watts at most. Because of this mission-critical requirements, we have designed a very sophisticated power management to support power budget up to 720 watts in order to operate for high-end CPU and GPU computing. We define system with scalable design. So the concept of scalable design is to have one embedded PC to combine with one GPU box to become a GPU computer. As you can see from the picture here, we have two optional GPU expansion boxes, the smaller one for one GPU and the larger one for two GPUs. Nevertheless, if the technology in the future supports, we can even design a larger GPU box to accommodate multiple GPUs, while keeping the exact same embedded computer for future-proof investment and also a scalable solution for customers. With a unique system design, GP-3000 is able to be installed in all kinds of different environments, such as to be an industrial control cabinet PC, to be a 19-inch rack system, to be an in-vehicle computers, or to be a desktop standalone PC. As Ray has previously mentioned about the Cincoze target market for GPU product line, there are smart factories, intelligent transportation, and public security. Now I would like to share two case studies from the intelligent transportation segments. The first one is about the railway track inspection. So the railway track inspection train, it only runs at midnight. Its purpose is to inspect the condition of the railway track. Underneath the inspection train, there are high-speed cameras. The cameras will record the analog footage, and with the GPU inside of GP-3000, it can convert and digitalize the analog footage into data for the server center to analyze the integrity of railway track and also the condition. Therefore, it can help for the maintenance purpose. The second one is about the autonomous mining truck. So the mining truck is always to operate in hot environment or with high humidity. But GP-3000 is also sustainable for such environment, where GP-3000 can be connected with several sensors and cameras to bring vision to the vehicle and to let the vehicle know its surrounding. So this will help the vehicle to operate on itself and to maneuver within the mine site. Now I would like to make a more in-depth, detailed introduction about GP-3000 series. The GP-3000 series can be a standalone embedded computer. It is with high computing performance that you can equip Core i or even Intel Xeon CPU inside for high performance. With this modular design, you can have additional add-on cards to bring more interfaces or functions to the system. And with its comprehensive functionalities, we can have more high-speed connectivities and offer multiple display options and many others. So this is the GPU expansion box. Even though we say this is a discrete box, but it's also interdependent with the embedded computer. The GPU expansion box has its own compartment for GPUs and other high-speed PCIe cards. But we do not want the PCIe cards or GPU cards to interfere with the GP-3000. So therefore, we say this relationship is interdependent, while the GPU expansion box receives the power and signals from the GP-3000. So to configure on demand, as you can see here, with the embedded computer, we can combine it with a GPU expansion box to become an embedded GPU computer. And how do we combine them together? We have designed a very reliable joint design. Inside of the GP-3000, there's an internal guiding track to guide the golden finger of the GPU expansion box to insert into GP-3000 seamlessly for integrity. So the overview of GP-3000 series can be three outcomes. The left one is a GP-3000 standalone computer. The middle one is a GP-3000 plus the 3-deck GPU expansion box. The right one is a GP-3000 with the 6-deck GPU expansion box for 2 GPU cards at once. Now I would like to talk about the key features of the GP-3000 series. The first one is about the computing performance. As you can see here are the list of the CPUs we have tested and verified on GP-3000 series, starting from Pentium Celeron up to Core i3, i5, and i7, and even Xeon CPUs. Some of the customers, they would like to use Xeon CPU for workstation purpose. So when you are using the Xeon CPU for workstation purpose, please remember to select the RAM type with ECC support. Therefore, you can use the Xeon CPU together with the ECC memory on GP-3000. And coming back to the GPU cards, as you can see, we support single GPU card expansion up to 350 watts for power budget. And for 350 watts, this is equivalent to the NVIDIA RTX 3090, and we have already tested and verified the RTX 3090 is able to operate at 100% GPU loading on GP-3000 series. And for dual GPU cards expansion, it's up to 500 watts for dual GPU cards. However, this does not mean you can have GPU cards A with 100 watts and GPU cards B with 400 watts. That's not the case. So please remember to only use 250 watts each when you are using 2 GPU cards. And for the total power budget for the system is up to 720 watts. And you see here we have designed the dual power connectors. The purpose of the dual power connectors is to divert the current into 2 power terminals. This is to ensure the better longevity of the system and to ensure safety operation for power management. Some might think this is for power redundancy, where I can have power supply A and power supply B. If one fails, the other continues to work. However, this is also not the case, because if you have 2 identical power supplies, it can still have discrepancy and have power sequence issue, which will eventually damage the system. Therefore, we strongly suggest customer to only use single power source with the GP-3000 series. And here is the system heat dissipation for the GP-3000 series. As you can see, I'm bringing up the top chassis of the GP-3000 series. You see the fins over here create a lot of surface area for heat dissipation. And while to increase the heat dissipation, we have designed modular fan kits. These fan kits, they are contact type without any cables, so it's very easy for maintenance. One modular fan kit can be installed over here to blow in the cool air. The other fan kit can be installed over here to suck out the hot air. While blowing through the fins, we also have designed a rooftop on top of this chassis to create a tunnel effect to have a concentrated air to bring the hot air out of the chassis quickly. So the fan kits, they do not intake any dust into the system, but only to remove the heat on the top chassis. So without a dust intake, we can make sure the better longevity of the system. And flip this through, this is the underneath over here is a CPU heatsink. With this over here, we have the heat pipes going through the top chassis. So with the heat pipe, copper heat pipes over here, we can conduct the heat efficiently to all the surface area of this top aluminum chassis. And here is about the GPU cooling design. So as you can see from the animation here, we have inhaling number 1 and inhaling number 2 to bring in the cold air into the GPU expansion box, while we have exhaling number 3 on the top and exhaling number 3 at the bottom to push out the hot air from the GPU expansion box. So now I would like to bring a closer look at the GPU expansion box. So here is the 6-stack GPU expansion box. And now I would like to flip open the top cover here. So without the top cover, you can see we can install 2 GPU cards at once. The first GPU cards can be installed over here. The second GPU cards can be installed closer to the GP-3000. So for the first GPU cards, simply utilize the inhaling number 1, which is only ventilation without any fan kit, because the GPU cards has its own fans to blow the GPUs. And however, for the second GPU cards, if you have the first GPU cards over here, the second GPU cards is limited from the airflow. So that's why inhaling number 2, we have 2 fan kits on the top to push down the cold air into the system to help the cooling of the second GPU cards over here. Okay. And for the exhaling number 3 at the top, there are 4 fan kits over here. So 4 fan kits are seated over here at exhaling number 3 top. And exhaling number 3 bottom, we have 2 larger fan kits to blow out the hot air. And these fan kits over here are also contact type fan kits. They are without any cables and very easy for maintenance. So to clean off the dust, after cleaning off the dust, you can simply put this back and secure it with your bare hands. So it's very convenient for any user to do maintenance job. And let's moving down to the second key feature, the GPU expansions. So for the GPU expansions, we are able to accommodate almost 99% of the GPU cards out in the market. The length we can support is up to 328 millimeters. The height is up to 64 millimeters and width 134 millimeters. So any GPU cards within this range can be installed inside of our GPU expansion box. So therefore, you can see we have two options for the GPU expansions. The 3-deck for single GPU cards and with some PCIe cards. The 6-deck, we can have two GPU cards at the same time. And let's take a look at the internal design of the 3-deck GPU expansion box. Number one is the PCIe by 16 slot, which can support up to 350 watts for GPU cards. Number two is the PCIe by 4 slot, which we can install high-speed I/O cards, frame grabber cards, and others. Number three is the internal USB slot, which can be used for USB dongles for data encryption application. And number four is the two 8-pin power connectors. So by saying the 8 pins, nowadays the GPU cards, they are powered up by 8 pins. However, some of the older type generation GPU cards are with 6 pins. So we have designed the power connectors with 6+2 to be flexible for user when they are using the GPU cards. And at number 5 is the additional power connector in Molex 4-pin type. So the 4-pin type power connectors is for the older generation GPU cards. So let's take a look at the 6-deck GPU expansion box. It has two PCIe by 16 slots. So physically they are PCIe by 16, but digitally they are PCIe by 8 lanes. Even though they are by 8 lanes, but they do not decrease the performance of the GPU. So by research, GPU is able to operate to almost 100% GPU with 8 lanes. Number 2, we have one PCIe by 4 and PCIe by 1 for frame grabber cards or motion cards. Number 3 is also the internal USB for data encryption application. And rest are the same as the 3-deck GPU expansion box. So we also have designed a cable tie. You can see in the middle of this photo here. So the cable tie is for the cable management for the GPU cards. And here, inside of the GPU expansion box, we have the adjustable GPU retainer. So for industrial environment, we also always get all kinds of different vibration and shock to the system. And keeping the GPU cards intact in this PCI slot is always critical and important. That's why we have designed this adjustable 3D bracket to hold the GPU cards in 3-dimensional direction, to hold it in Y-axis, Z-axis, and X-axis. And the adjustable retainer can be adjusted according to the width, the length, and depth of the GPU cards. Now I would like to talk about the key features, comprehensive functionalities. As you can see, this is a system overview of the GP-3000. On the left-hand side, we have the high-speed connectivity by LAN ports and USB. So we are able to offer 5 native LAN ports and 6 high-speed USBs. With the display options, we have VGA, HDMI, and DisplayPort. We have 4 2.5 hard disk trays, which is front-accessible storage with hot swappable functions. On the right-hand side, we have the universal bracket. So this is a compartment designed proprietary by Cincoze for add-on card to bring more interfaces to the GP-3000. We have other functions with COM ports, able to operate in 3 different modes, RS-232, 422, and 485. We have the miking and line out for audio purpose. We have the remote power on-off and remote power reset. For the maintenance area, you can exchange the CMOS battery over here and have the dual SIM card slots for data redundancy. And also for in-vehicle computing, we have the ignition switch over here for you to do settings. And let's focus on the 4 2.5 hard disk trays. So nowadays, for data storage, it always comes with SSD for high speed. However, with large capacity, it's always convenient and cost-effective to use a hard disk. With hard disks, larger the capacity, higher the thickness. And with the thickness, we have designed the hard disk tray with 15mm design. This brings much more convenient and flexibility for customers to use with ray function from 0, 1, 5, and 10. And let's look at the internal expansion sockets of the GP-3000. So we have internal USB, also for data encryption application. We have the mini PCIe sockets for Wi-Fi module expansion or for GPX purpose. We have the M.2 E key, which you can use for CMVI high-speed network Wi-Fi. And also the M.2 M key, which you can use for the NVMe storage SSD. And talking about the additional add-on cards, here are the different kinds of add-on cards we are offering for the GP-3000. On the top ones, it's called the CMI 10G LAN 02. This brings you dual 10G LAN ports to the GP-3000. Or you can choose the CMI LAN 01 to have 4 additional LAN ports. Or you can have the CMI M12 LAN 01 with the M12 connectors for ruggedness. And in the future, we are designing the CMI X-coded M12 LAN ports. So as you can see, we can install these add-on cards based on your demand. And for the low-speed purpose, such as comport and digital I/Os, we also offer 2 different modules for you to expand into GP-3000. And here are the add-on cards that you can bring additional functions to GP-3000. So with the CFM PoE01, you can have additional function with PoE. So the native LAN ports can be converted into PoE ports after adding the add-on cards. And with the CFN IGN03, you can bring the GP-3000 into in-vehicle application. And here is just to let you know, if you need additional USB ports, you can install the Mac USB M102 for additional USB. Now I would like to talk about the industrial grade design. So the GP-3000 is able to operate in wide range of operating temperature. As you can see from this table here, we have CPUs ranging from 35 watts, 65 watts, and 80 watts. And for 35 watt CPU, the system is able to operate up to 70 degrees Celsius. And for 80 watt CPU, the system is able to operate up to 50 degrees Celsius. And when adding 1 GPU card into the system, the overall operating temperature will be 40 degrees Celsius and 2 GPU cards for 35 degrees Celsius. Some might ask about the operating temperature is getting quite low, but this is actually due to a limitation from GPU. And our test criteria is very strict, that we make sure there's no thermal throttling for both CPU and GPU. We test 100% CPU loading and 100% GPU loading by burn-in test and field mark. So this is to ensure and to guarantee customer that the GP-3000 is able to work within these ranges of temperatures. And for mounting methods, we are offering 4 different kinds of mountings. The first one on the left top is a wall mount, where we can mount the GP-3000 series on the wall, or even in a control cabinet, which the GP-3000 can line up with the PLC and inverter side by side. At the left bottom, we have the face-up mount. This is very convenient when we are mounting this in a vehicle, back of the trunk. And it's very easy for the driver to do maintenance and to operate the GP-3000. On the right top side, we have the desktop mount. So this is the standalone GP-3000 system that we can use as a standalone PC. On the right bottom is a rack mount system mount. So we are offering optional rack mount tray that we can put the GP-3000 together with the GPU expansion box on the tray for the 19-inch rack mount system. And for the shock and vibration, it's always required for the industrial purpose, for harsh environment. And we have already passed the GP-3000 series with a military grade 810G. Our test criteria is to have 2 GPU cards inside of the GP-3000 series and to operate without any trouble. So this ensures that the GP-3000 is ruggedized for shock and vibration. And here we have the multi-chassis ground design. So the chassis ground is always to take out the unwanted power or the EMC noises. By research, the more chassis grounding you do, the better the dispersion of the EMC and the unwanted power. So that's why for industrial environment, you can use the chassis ground, the multi-chassis ground, for better grounding purpose. And for industrial applications, we have passed the railway EMC, the EN 50121-3-2 for EMC. And for in-vehicle computing, we have passed the EU Directive EMARC. And for safety, we have passed the Low Voltage Directive, the EM 623-68-1. So now I would like to move on to the selection guide for GP-3000 series. Here, as you can see, we have the GP-3000 as the main system, while we have 2 optional GPU expansion boxes, the smaller one for 1 GPU and the larger one for 2 GPUs. These are the optional modules and accessories for GP-3000 series. The additional modules, add-on cards, can bring additional interface for the GP-3000 and also have new functions bring it to GP-3000. And here are the mounting kits that we can use for rack mount purpose. And also the power supply we can use together with GP-3000, the SDR480 for 1 GPU card and the HEP1000 for 2 GPU cards. So this is an overview presentation about the GP-3000, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. Thank you. This is Paul from Cincoze.